Hello, everyone. My name is James Bell. I'm the Assistant Farm Director at Grace Place Farm and Gardens. And this is who we affectionately call Chef Austin Chappelle with Grace Place Farm and Gardens. Mason Prescott, the Farm Director today, is on his way to a conference and the flight was delayed. So unfortunately, he was not able to join us, but we are thrilled to be able to share a bit about the Grace Place Farm and Gardens story. So thanks for tuning in today. And for those of you who are watching the recording after the fact, thanks for tuning in. We're just going to take a moment to just tell you a bit of the story because it's kind of a wild one. Where were we in 2023?
Well, in 2023, we lived in Northern California in a place about 2 hours south of Oregon and about 2.5 hours north of Sacramento, a place called Redding, California.
A group of friends of us met at Bible school from all over the United States. Let's see, like what states do we have? So I'm from Georgia.
I'm from Texas originally. We have Iowa. We have
North Dakota,
Southern California,
North Carolina,
Washington,
California,
Virginia.
So we're all these young adults, all
Canada.
Canada, people all in their 20s or late teens, really, when we went to Bible school, and we wanted to move and start a church and start a farm and start a discipleship school, mentoring young adults. Now, these were not necessarily our ideas. We really, because our faith is important to us, and you'll see it
Andrew, are you listening to this?
woven throughout the story.
Yes.
As you can see that, like, you just know that this was not our idea. God put this on our heart, and we chose to be obedient and to take a step of faith to do this. You know, in the organic community, or really the growing community, there's really two unique camps. There's this environmentalist camp, which really values taking care of the earth and stewarding the earth. And then you also have a homesteading camp, which is very pro-freedom, pro-family, and often pro-faith. And those don't have to be irreconcilable. You can be very much pro-faith and pro the earth and environmentalism, in my opinion, God's way of environmentalism. And it's actually all part of the same story. So, but we all were in Northern California in 2023, and we felt led by the Lord to pray about where to move. And long story short, that's another webinar for another time. We landed on Sioux Falls, and we moved in the late fall, early winter. Thankfully, it was a mild winter, and we made it to Sioux Falls.
I think the funny part about all of this is about the moving story is that 2.5 years ago, I didn't even know where Sioux Falls was on the map, nor do I even know if I've heard of Sioux Falls before. So coming out here, not to mention everything else that I didn't know 2.5 years ago. But
Right.
That being said, it's funny that we now live in Sioux Falls, right on the county line.
Right. So our farm is just outside Sioux Falls, that little red dot you see. And you'll see that we're actually, because we're technically in the green, we're not even in the city proper, which does allow us to have livestock and kind of have some of the county benefits, but certainly do have to jump through a few more hoops because we are so close to the city when it comes to zoning. We were established in 2024. That's when we started growing and preparing the ground. One of the wild things about our journey is not one of us has agricultural experience. We're totally novice, totally greenhorn, like none of us know what we're doing. And that's part of the fun of it, is because we're just trusting and going for it and relying on really three main things. Well, four, if one of them is the most obvious, which is trusting the Lord. But two is books, three is YouTube, and four is mentors or local producers who have done it before us. So that's a bit about us. Now, something you should know is that our mission, really, at what we're doing, like, what's the heartbeat? Why are we doing it? Other than just being obedient. One is to grow nutritionally dense food. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the organic chapter in many ways, is to try to grow the cleanest possible food with the least synthetic inputs as possible. and really let the soil shine and build up soil health instead of deteriorating soil health. Number two is that this is more of the business challenge to operate a profitable farm that generates revenue for reinvestment and expansion. And three is this education piece. You probably heard me mention it, that we are looking at doing a discipleship school, and that's part of it, as well as educating the community, what sustainable agriculture looks like, what kingdom agriculture looks like, having that heavenly mindset while we're on the earth. It's a big part of what we're doing. So here's a few photos of our team. This is obviously not everyone. We do have about 20 staff or volunteers or community members, neighbors who love to come over and help and participate, whether it's the rainy days or the beautiful days, or we're in the kitchen preserving like diced onions in the top left, or we're at the farmer's market or driving in posts or doing construction. We love the fact that we're doing this together as a group of friends. That's probably the most rewarding thing.
Definitely. One of our mottos is from farm to family, and I'm sure James will touch on that a little bit later. But as a group, we become like a family, and I think that's one thing that allows our farm to shine, and it allows us to do things that were told to us that were impossible. You know, when we came out here, people told us, don't do it. You're not going to have a crop in your first year. There's no way you're going to get anything done. You know, our property, I wish we have a video actually we regularly update of the renovations to our property. And the property itself, it is 9 acres. And when people come out, they say, oh, wow, this is so awesome. But they don't know what it looked like when we first got here.
It's funny you say that, because this is what the realtor photos looked like in 2023 of the property. It was built, the house was built in 74, and it had just kind of gotten overgrown. They had a barn for deer, or a barn for, not deer. There are deer on the property, but there was a barn for horses, and the fence was beaten down, overgrown everywhere. And I'd actually like to take a minute to show y'all a quick story video of how the property got transformed. Well, I wanted to go over a bit more of the specifics because I think part of the nuance of the story isn't just the there's the cool overarching tone, but I know some of you are maybe like me, and I love to know like, okay, well, how did they do it? What did they do? And what were we, how did we look at this property and try to conceptualize what we did? And so I wanted to share a bit of like some of our early sketches. We took some drone pictures and we're like, okay, how do we take an old acreage that's 9.5 acres and try to grow vegetables and livestock intensively. So we were following kind of a farmstead market farm model from the inspiration of the things we were reading about online. And so I took this drone shot and we really thought, well, let's try to use the standardized bed format that Jean-Martin Fortier, the market gardener, Curtis Stone, the urban farmer, how they have found a good way to grow crops consistently. So we decided on these 50-foot beds or 100-foot beds. That way, every bed is standardized. All the drip irrigation is standardized. All the landscape fabric is standardized, which was really helpful when we're getting started because we just needed the ability to scale and to have replicable things. We couldn't balance too much nuance because we were biting off so much in 1 year. I mean, to think that this is like what the property looked like 2 years ago, or I'm sorry, no, at the beginning of last season. Like that's hard to believe. But we plowed it up with a BCS. Next time, if we're doing this much garden, we are not going to do the BCS. That's good for adding one row, not for starting a whole garden. But we wanted to do an initial tillage to break up some of the grass and soil, and then go from there with a light tillage when we need to prepare a seed bed. So these are our kind of our original garden beds. In 2024, we had 74 50-foot bed equivalents. So that if you did, added it up, it would be about 74 50-foot beds. And in this year, we over doubled in size to 81 100-foot beds. I mean, we really scaled up because we wanted to grow more. We certainly learned a lot this year by biting off that much more, but it was very rewarding. Here's some photos of year one. Our coop design in the bottom left, we had our wheels low to the ground, and we found that that was not as effective. So we heightened the coop so the birds can get underneath for shade and for their safety while we're moving them. We added automatic doors to the coops. We started all of our starts last year in a greenhouse, but the weather was so volatile in spring, it was just so unpredictable to really get that steady temperature and consistent germination. So we actually created a nursery inside in the basement of the house where we have a room with a heater and water it. And then this was kind of our primitive first lettuce garden up in that white fenced area. And a neat little thing that maybe you can talk about is our experience at the farmers market last year, and just bringing things and
Yes, and I think the farmers market really helped us to understand not only what we needed to grow more of, what does well, what's a pipe dream, what's something that maybe grows well in the books that we're reading or the YouTube videos that we're watching for other people and sells well for them, but does not for us. But when we got the experience of getting our hands on certain produce, we just learned this sells so much better.
hmm
This does so much better. People don't care about radish. Maybe not everybody is interested in a radish
yeah.
and butter sandwich, or maybe not everybody wants to add 20 radishes to every salad they have, or so on and so forth. But it allowed us to kind of understand, okay, this is what is selling. This is what actually brings profit. And then also, it really opened up. Like I said, we're farm to family. We love connecting with the people that we're bringing our produce
Yeah.
to. And so it's one thing to be day in and day out working on the farm, but when you get to see the produce leave your hand and get into the hands of somebody who's going to enjoy it, and then they're coming back week after week, and they have a demand for what you bring. That to me is one of the most rewarding things because you see, okay, what God put me here to do to produce this healthy, nutrient-rich food is actually happening, and it's a tangible. You don't want to, you see the seed go into the ground, but when you see it come into a hand, that's going to take it and bring it home and prepare it for their family,
Hmm.
it's one of the most remarkable things.
It is. And I would say, for if we were saying if I could go back and talk to myself about what I would do different, or like if I were taking a strategy, I would 100% emphasize the importance of farmers market in the first year, because you nothing can beat the experience you're getting at the farmers market, meeting the community, and then gauging that demand. Like, we grew way too many radishes last year, so many radishes. Now, there are the radish lovers, so not trying to hate on the radishes, but we thought we need to grow more of this, more of that. And, that's so informative to have that. And the best thing about a farmer's market is you just bring everything you have, hope it's a great sunny day, and then it's fun to watch it fly off the shelves, or sit there and realize we have too many of that type of squash. But I mean, I think everyone has too many of that type of squash whenever they're growing. It's just
100%.
we have
Summer
the
squash.
summer squash. We had piled crates in our laundry room at the farmhouse. And to clarify, no one lives at the farm, in the farmhouse. Our community and our group of friends, we live in different apartments, townhomes, homes throughout the city, and we all use the farmhouse as office space and as a spot where we do a lot of preservation. We do farmhand meals and community meals. And so, anyway, the farmers market was a huge plus. And I wanted to show you kind of if this is last year, this is this year. We have a much more elaborate and well laid out irrigation plan. Uh, we have trellising for different plants. Instead of a farmer's market outlet, this year we exclusively led up to a large launch at our farm store, and we also opened online sales where people could just order, and then we'd prepare their orders, and they'd come up to the the farm, and we'd bring it out to their car. You can see the improved coupe designs. They do have wheels on the back. So we can pick those up and roll them through the pasture. We usually get 2 to 3 guys on it, and we can move them pretty straightforward. We use the electric netting from Premier One. So that's kind of how we went from year one to year two. Now, just while I'm on this kind of topic of kind of how things changed from 2024 to 2025, is there any questions? Feel free to type them into the chat. I want to make sure we're just going along the way, and getting to, answer anything if people are wondering. So feel free to type something in. I'm going to try to keep an eye on that, but would love to answer any questions if I mention something or we say something as we're going. I'll take a moment now to actually mention that a big part of our journey has been learning about programs that are available through the United States Department of Agriculture, whether that's NIFA, which is the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, I believe, or the FSA or the NRCS. There have been programs from each of those three that have provided some level of assistance because we're beginning farmers. Dan at the NRCS has been great at helping us kind of design some solutions that might meet some of our needs, whether that's low tunnels for some of our crops. We obviously didn't have that in the first year. We were just getting started, but they were able to come and see our farm and address those resource concerns. How can we improve the soil? How can we improve water conservation? How can we be more, just like we said, good stewards of the soil, good stewards of the earth? And the FSA had a program at the end of last year called Specialty or Marketing Assistance for Specialty Crops, and that was just a little bit of extra funds, knowing it can be challenging marketing specialty crops. And I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that the USDA does have programs, and they're so collaborative and so wonderful to work with. Um, and it's great to go in and just learn. And then also the SARE program. That I want to mention this one last because SARE is all about education. It's effectively the education arm of the USDA saying, hey, instead of us doing the education, why don't we let farmers or ranchers propose projects? They'll do conduct the research and execute it on their farm. So the project that we submitted that wasn't approved was how effective is it to use YouTube and digital marketing technology to build a farm store and compare that to sales from your farmers market sales. And so what we found was that when we opened our farm store in just in pretty much less than a month of when we opened it, we have made more than we made in the entire season last year at the farmers market. And I attribute that to a few factors. So I wouldn't say carte blanche, it's just the store being there. I think there's a few factors, one of which is building customer relationships at the farmers market and getting text message numbers and building customer profiles so that way we can let people know who are interested in that. I think the local news coverage played a large part in the weeks following the grand opening, sharing our story. I mean, those things have, I think, played a big part, but also just being in the location we're in makes a difference. So I couldn't say categorically that farm stands or farm stores will do better than farmers markets, but it's a very neat research experiment, and it's been a cool blessing to have some grant funds to help us prep that. They helped us pay for flyers. And like for example, these flyers we put together and did a direct mailer campaign to about 2,400 homes. And that's part of some of how the grant funds were used. The grant funds have helped put this program together, not this specific chapter meeting, but this slideshow and some of the resources that you're seeing. It helps us to tell the story really. Do you have anything on the farm store opening? Or
Yes, and I think the other side of this is that um, when you have a place where people can come and they not only get to see the products that you're offering, the produce that you're offering, and then many different types of products that we're offering in the store, but they also get to see where it comes from. They get to see the chickens, where the eggs come from. They get to see the turkeys that they're going to be reserving for Thanksgiving this year. They're going to get to see, the beds where the peppers they're buying are growing and the tomatoes for the salsa and all that. I think it adds another level of connection. And then one thing that really got impressed on our heart was that, we were to have people at the farm store, not just make it a self-service type store, because that was something we contemplated at the beginning, but to actually help people and do it in hours that we can manage the store. So we're open from 12 to 6. I know it says 1 to 6 for the opening, but we're open 12 to 6 Monday through Friday. And what allows that human interaction, the connection that you make when you come with the people who are producing your food, come and meet the people who are producing your food, I think just adds another level to the productivity and the efficiency of having the farm store.
Oh, totally. I see a question actually, Greg. You said, have you made contact with Dakota Fresh, which is the local food Sioux Falls distribution network? And it's funny you mentioned that. We have met Lisa and now Stephanie, who's helping manage Dakota Fresh, and I think we're actively in conversations with kind of preparing our produce to go out that way. Our first connection in Sioux Falls was actually Anna Anderson with Glory Garden, which is a similar food distribution service. And she was so gracious in introducing us to a dozen local growers. Ian Caselli from Caselli's Market Garden, and introduced us to Lisa Muth from the Goose Mobile, and so many people. Oh, Jamie Boley from Mayborn Acres, who helped us process our first batch of chickens.
Oh,
So, like, I mean, just meeting local growers. And I could keep going down the list, but Anna was so gracious in connecting us with local growers, and that has been a huge inspiration. Just have someone I can text who's done it before. So we are connected with Dakota Fresh, and we are considering how we can partner and bring Grace Place Farm and Gardens produce and goods into that delivery option. One thing I wanted to do now is actually show you a little recap of our grand opening. So we sent out that mailer, and then I want to show you what happened. You'll see at the very beginning, we took this shed that was it was actually just an empty shed we had delivered to the property, and then we renovated it. We added the all of the insulation, the drywall, the electrical, the storage, the freezer, the fridge. So you'll see that as we share the grand opening video here. But it's fun to see how far that's come.
Friends and family, today is a very special day in the life of Grace Place Farm and Gardens. Think about where we were 2 years ago, and think about where we are today. Think about the faithfulness of God that we started in a 3-bedroom townhome, and now we have a 6-bedroom home, 9.5 acres. Today, we are cutting the ribbon and we are opening the farm stand. And we are going to celebrate more than just a new structure. We celebrate God's faithfulness. May this stand serve as a beacon of what it means to work the land with purpose and to offer its harvest with love. Three, two, one.
The whole reason we put this dinner together is to say thank you for doing what you do. You are forerunners and pioneers and key customers or key providers or key chefs in the area, and you have a value for growing food that feeds families. We're just getting started, and I can't wait to see how Sioux Falls continues to get better as we all work together and grow food for the families in this area. And you do something big and you go for the top. You try to do as best as you can. You're going to find that that there's things that are difficult on the other side of it, but you can look back at the end of the day. That, for instance, when we opened the farm store, I poured beeswax candles. I never poured a candle in my life. Took wine bottles that we were donated and used that to convert that into the holder for the candle. And then so cutting glass, never done that in my life. Making salsas a year and a half ago, I've never done. Making pasta sauce, we had a pasta sauce there, and Chef Sanaa, who was a James Beard finalist, which is similar to they rate the chefs rather than rating just the restaurant or the food experience, and so it's very high esteem. She was there. She said, "I was trained in Italy to make sauces, and your sauce is incredible." And I'm thinking, I didn't even know how to make a sauce a year and a half ago. And then my pastor comes in, Pastor Daniel comes in, he says, "Hey, I want pasta sauce. We've got all these tomatoes. I want salsa, I want pasta sauce." I said, "Lord help me. I don't know what the heck I'm doing." And then beautiful people are able to talk me through different things along the way. With the pasta sauce, it was kind of like I watched a bunch of nonas on which is the Italian word for grandma. I'm a quarter Italian, though I look like I'm 100% white. So getting to make these type of things is really so much fun. Um, but then getting to use that at the farm to table dinner and getting that high compliment, and I can just say, wow, the Lord's hand was really on what we were doing,
Hmm.
because I had no idea. I had no idea how to make sauerkraut from scratch. I had tried one time before, and it was an absolute mess because they told me put only this much, 2% salt, and I did an incredible amount of salt, and it was disgusting. And all these different products you see on here on the screen, the kombucha is the first time I've ever made kombucha, the first time I've ever taken ketchup from a tomato to the bottle. And I think the thing that you learn is like, number one, all things are possible for those that believe.
Hmm.
And number two, why not do something big?
Right.
Why not do something so far out of your comfort zone? Why not do something that makes you stay up at night thinking, I don't know how the heck I'm going to do this. How, and then not only am I doing this, but I'm also trusted with the safety, getting certified with cottage food law and everything, trusted with the safety of the people who are consuming our products. And so there's you just level up in that process. And I would encourage anyone who's watching this, take what you're doing and dream something big.
Yep.
Dream something really big and go big.
Hmm.
And when you go big, this all started from a comment about dishes, but when you go big, you're going to find that the problems are bigger,
Yes.
but the reward is so
It's
much
so
bigger.
reward. And I'd say, excuse me, I'd say it's easy to probably look at our story and think, well, they have a lot of hands. They have a lot of help, so they can do that. But I mean, you may see something we have a lot of, but there's plenty of things we have very little of. And I'm sure in your situation, what do you have a lot of that you can and focus that energy towards? Because what Austin's saying is that the heartbeat of not just farming, it's at the heartbeat of faith. It's at the heartbeat of what it means to be somebody who's learning and growing. And I'd say that's what's so humbling is we're not only not experts, we're not veterans. We have no expertise, no experience, but when you position yourself in a heart posture of humility that says, I don't know it all, and I'm sure somebody else is willing to help us, you find you build stronger relationships, and the fruit is that much sweeter. So drinking this craft kombucha, you're like, you have gratitude on your lips because you're thinking this is so special. When you have your first harvest of honey from the hives that you brought in, you think this is so sweet. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And gratitude, I think, has undergirded the success of this farm because we constantly remind ourselves and our team, and we point at things around the farm on an almost daily basis and say, thank you. That walk-in was donated from an old gas station, and they sold it to us for a quarter of the price. And thank you. That electrician helped us fix up that farm store so that we didn't have to contract out thousands of dollars worth of electrical work. We just say thank you and thank you, thank you. And really quick, just a few of the books that I read and our team read. Not everyone, but just things that I found to be practically helpful in getting started in this. Now, most of you are already growers, so maybe this is not helpful, but if there's anyone out there who wants to follow in our young infant footsteps, this is some of the books we were reading and some of the formats we were doing. And then here are some YouTubers that I'd say we really, really look up to. Um, Justin Rhodes obviously is kind of the crazy chicken man online. You've got Connor Crickmore's Never Sink tools have been very useful. We use those a good bit. Dirk Tanner has just some practical business advice, and Josh Satin has some wonderful courses on techniques. So those are some just resources that we found. And of course, there's the mentors and the role models, like many of you or many of the growers in the area that are not pictured but are in our hearts. And I just thought maybe you'd finish out with just read the scripture. This is what we put on pretty much every package on anything we sell. Thank you for letting us
Well,
share. So that's just a bit of us. If you want to reach out to Mason or anyone at the farm, there's our info, graceplacefarm.com, or you can email info@graceplacefarm.com for email. But that's the phone number for the farm. You can call or text us at any time as well. But boy, it's such a joy to share the story and also give the heartbeat, because it's so important of why we do what we do.